Welcome to the Daughter Arise channel. My name is Yvonne and this channel is all about bringing you content about childhood sexual abuse. On this channel I share things to do with my experience of going through this childhood trauma. I also share news stories and add my thoughts and commentary to them, and also other topics to do with childhood sexual abuse. And from time to time, when I'm fortunate enough, I do interview other survivors and their supporters in hopes of raising awareness of this childhood trauma. So if this is the type of content you're looking for, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified of any new uploads. And if you do like the content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. So guys, in today's video, I'm just sharing with you a news story that I came across in the Daily Mail, and it is about a father that impregnated his 12-year-old daughter while they were living together in refuge accommodation, and then forcing her to have an abortion. So guys, I'll just read to you the story. I will leave a link to the story in the description box below for you to check out. So it says, an Eritrean man is on trial in Germany after allegedly impregnating his 12-year-old daughter while they lived together at a refugee shelter last year. The disturbing discovery was made in July 2023 after the young girl was taken to hospital with abdominal pains, where she was found to be 5 months pregnant. DNA samples were taken from over 50 male residents of the migrant accommodation centre to try and find the culprit, but it was when the child's father refused that suspicions were raised. According to the local media, the pregnancy was terminated at the family's request. Appearing at a Gießen regional court in Germany on Wednesday, the 40-year-old man, known only as A. Tesfalem, expressed his regret and said he was sorry from the bottom of his heart. But Tesfalem claimed that he had no recollection of the alleged rape, explaining that he had spent the day drinking beer with a friend and was blackout drunk. I drank too much, he told the court. From that point on, I was no longer in my right mind. It is indeed true that if someone drinks beyond their means, they don't know what they're doing. The judge, however, noted how the defendant had never mentioned being drunk during the investigation. The girl has reportedly never spoken about what has happened to her, but according to news outlet Bild, a psychologist who treated her told the court that they had asked her if she knew how a baby was made, to which she responded no. The child, who is now 13, was reportedly left severely traumatized and now suffers from dissociative behavior. She was taken into care and is undergoing therapy. At the time of the alleged crime, Tesfalem, a single father, was living with his daughter at a refugee shelter in Freiburg. The next court date will take place at some point this month. So guys, as you just heard from that story, it's absolutely disgusting and shocking what this 12-year-old girl had to go through. For me, one of the most alarming things about this story is the fact that she was allowed to have a termination, and it was done at the family's request. My question is, at what point did those medical authorities thought to raise the alarm? How could they allow this 12-year-old girl to go ahead with a termination without informing the police first, and allowing this to go ahead, knowing what we know now about this girl who didn't even know anything about sex or babies or anything? How can anybody in authority allow this to happen? The girl is 12 years old. First of all, there are laws in Germany, sex under a certain age, or a minor having sex under a certain age, is against the law. So for the fact that she was allowed to have an abortion, that should have rang alarm bells with that clinic or hospital. The next thing with this story, which is not shocking, is the fact that we have a paedophile who on one hand says they're sorry, but on the other hand then tries to blame an outside factor for their actions. In this story, this so-called father was blaming alcohol and him being drunk for the fact that he was out of control and didn't know what he was doing. As the judge quite rightly noted, he didn't mention being drunk during this investigation. So therefore, in my opinion, he's just trying to make excuses about his actions. He's trying to come up with a way of getting himself out of the fact that he's done something so disgraceful and horrifying to his daughter. He says people don't know what they're doing when they're drunk, therefore can't have responsibility for their actions. That's basically what he's saying. That is absolute rubbish. There are lots of people out there that get drunk and go out and different things like that, but they then don't go and do things to their own children. But it is known that to overcome internal inhibitors, as I mentioned from the stuff that I've shown on this channel, to do with 4 things that a paedophile must overcome to do the act of abuse on a child, they have to, one of them is lower internal inhibitors. So in order for him to be able to do that, yes, drink would have helped him to dull that sense, that consciousness of him doing right and wrong. It is by no means an excuse for what he has done to his own daughter. I think he should be held totally accountable. And if he was so concerned and if he was so sorry, then why, when the police went to that migrant accommodation to test everybody to find out he was the culprit, why did he try and get out of it? Because he knew he had done wrong. It's just absolutely, horrific what he's done to his own daughter. I'm just lost for words. The fact that she ended up being 5 months pregnant, the fact that she didn't even know what sex is, where babies came from, is totally believable. There are a lot of young girls in closed communities. Eritrean communities are quite close. We've got the Jewish communities, we've got other communities, Muslim communities, lots of different communities where the girls within those communities lead quite a sheltered life. They're not exposed to a lot of stuff that is sexualized and different stuff that goes on within society. So the fact that she didn't know where babies came from and didn't know how, about sex, is realistic, is totally believable, because that does go on. The fact that she could have been put through a medical termination of a baby is even more alarming, and this is why, in a sense, I've always been quite wary of closed communities, because I feel that, and this is just my opinion, within closed communities there's probably more chance of sexual abuse going on than people realise. Another close community I covered on this channel was the Jehovah's Witnesses, and there have been many victims that have come out from that community as well, saying that when they were children they were sexually abused by people within their community. So for me, there is a lot of spotlight on closed communities, and I'm so sorry that this young girl had to go through this by herself without anybody to talk to. And I just feel that more needs to be done to kind of raise awareness in these communities. It's a sad state of affairs that she is now having to live in foster care in a foreign country to her. She's got no other family apart from her so-called father, and basically now that she's had to go through this, she's now ended up in the care system. On top of that, she is suffering from the effects of going through childhood sexual abuse, having to understand what has even happened to her in the first place, and then having to understand that she's gone through sexual abuse as a child is going to be a very painful and hard journey for her. And I hope that she's getting the support that she needs. Obviously, they've said in the story she is receiving therapy, but she is going to need a lot of support and help for a very long time. It's going to be hard for her to come to terms with what has happened to her, to realise that a person that she loves and trusts had done this thing to her. Once she comes into that knowledge of what sex is, what her father did to her, what childhood sexual abuse is, it's going to be a lot for her to take on, and she's probably going to be overwhelmed. So I'm going to keep her in my prayers, and I just hope that she can get the help that she needs, and the support that she needs, because she's probably going to need it for a very long time. We're already hearing in the story that she's got a dissociative disorder, and no doubt there will be other things that will come up for her, maybe physically, emotionally, mentally, as she goes on and gets older. As for the father, I hope that they lock him up for a very, very long time. He is a danger to children. He's been a danger and a menace in his own daughter's life, and I really hope and pray that he gets a very long prison sentence for what he has done. So guys, that is it for this video. I will leave a link to the story in the description box, as I mentioned. Until the next one, take care.